BF got drunk at his friend's party, woke up to the friend's fiancée taking advantage of him while his friend watched and filmed it. Now he thinks he cheated, but he was assaulted. I met my boyfriend in college when we had a class together. He was struggling cause of his party lifestyle, but me, being a studious introvert, was thriving. I still remember the first time he talked to me. He practically cornered me after class one day and asked if I could help him pass because he was on academic probation. I said no at first. Why would I waste my time helping some frat boy who couldn't be bothered to show up to class sober? But he was persistent. He kept asking, saying he'd pay me, buy me coffee, whatever I wanted. I finally agreed just to shut him up, honestly. Our first study session was a disaster. He was late, hadn't read any of the material, and spent half the time texting his friends. I was ready to walk out and never look back. But then he looked at me and said, "I'm sorry. I'm being in a hole. Please don't give up on me yet." Something in his eyes just seemed genuine? I don't know. So I stayed. The next time we met, he was on time. Had actually read the assignment. Asked good questions. Brought me coffee. Little by little, I saw there was more to him than just the party boy persona. He was actually smart when he applied himself. Funny in a way that wasn't at someone else's expense. And he listened. I hated his guts at first, but, for some reason, he made me fall in love with him. It wasn't overnight or anything like those stupid romantic comedies. It was gradual. One day I just realized I was looking forward to our study sessions more than anything else in my week. He asked me out after about 2 months of studying together. I said no. He didn't push it, just said okay and went back to discussing Chaucer or whatever we were studying that day. He asked again a week later. I said no again. This went on for like a month until I finally said yes, mostly because I was curious if he'd ever give up. Our first date was so awkward. He took me to this fancy restaurant and was clearly trying too hard. I was uncomfortable in my dress and heels. The conversation was stiff. We both hated it. Then halfway through dinner, he just looked at me and said, "This sucks, doesn't it?" I laughed so hard I snorted water out my nose. We left, got burgers instead, and ate them in his car while listening to music. That was the night I realized I might actually like this guy. He was such an open book too, and waited patiently for me. I didn't let him kiss me till 4 months into dating. I know that sounds ridiculous to most people, but I had been hurt before and needed to be sure. When we finally kissed, it was in his dorm room after we'd been studying for finals. Nothing romantic, no build-up. He asked if he could, I said yes, and that was it. But it was perfect in its own way. I didn't sleep with him till our 1-year anniversary. Another thing that probably sounds crazy to most people. He was my first and I really wanted to be sure I was giving my virginity to someone who truly loved me. I don't regret waiting. He made it special, never rushed me, never made me feel bad about waiting. I didn't ask him to, but he slowly gave up partying and drinking for me. It wasn't like I gave him an ultimatum or anything. He just started declining invites to parties, saying he'd rather watch movies with me. Started drinking less, then barely at all. When I asked him about it once, he just shrugged and said, "That stuff's not fun anymore. You're fun." We both found a new friend group in college who we've maintained to this day. Mostly other couples or chill people who weren't into the whole party scene. We'd have game nights, movie marathons, cookouts, normal stuff without all the drama that comes with the party crowd. He gave up everything willingly, cause he said he'd rather spend time at home with me. I never asked him to change. In fact, sometimes I worried he was giving up too much of himself for me. But he always insisted he was happier this way. The one thing from his past that he didn't give up though was his childhood best friend who we'll call Max. Max always hated me. From the first time we met, he gave me this look like I was something he'd stepped in. I think he blames me that he sees my BF only a few times a month and that he isn't fun anymore. By fun, I mean getting blackout drunk and hitting on anything that moves. Max is that guy who peaked in high school and never moved on. Still talks about the glory days of being prom king or whatever. Still thinks dick jokes are the height of comedy. Still treats women like they're disposable. I tried to like him for my BF's sake, I really did. I smiled through his crude jokes, I made conversation when we were forced to be in the same room, I even defended him a few times when my BF complained about something he'd done. There was this one time a couple years back when we were all at dinner together with some other friends. Max had too much to drink, as usual, and started making these comments about our relationship. Stuff like, "Man, remember when you used to be fun? And you're so whipped, dude, it's sad." My BF laughed it off, but I could tell he was uncomfortable. The worst was when Max looked my BF straight in the eye and said, "You'll come to your senses eventually right in front of me and everyone else at the table." The whole table went quiet. I felt like I'd been slapped. My BF quickly changed the subject, but the damage was done. I told him afterward I wasn't comfortable around Max anymore, so since then, he never let Max around me, but they still hung out and I really didn't mind cause I trusted him. They'd meet up for beers or to watch the game maybe once or twice a month. BF would always text me when he got there and when he was leaving, not because I asked him to, but just so I wouldn't worry. He'd always come home sober, or at most slightly buzzed, and would tell me about their night. I asked him once why he stayed friends with Max when they seemed to have so little in common anymore. He got this sad look on his face and said, "He's been there for me through some really dark times. I can't just abandon him because he's struggling." Apparently Max's parents went through a nasty divorce when they were kids, and my BF was the only one who stuck by him. I can respect loyalty, even if I think Max is a total douche. Over the years, Max has had this on again, off again relationship with this girl. Let's call her Hannah. Hannah seemed okay the few times I met her, though I always wondered what she saw in Max. She's pretty in that Instagram perfect way, smart from what I could tell, and had a good job in real estate or marketing or something like that. Whenever they'd break up, which was like every 6 months, Max would go on these benders and my BF would have to go talk him down. Then they'd get back together and the cycle would repeat. Okay, so this is what happened recently. Max got engaged to Hannah, for the second time, I think? And invited both of us over to celebrate. It would have been just the four of us. Restrictions have been lifted in our area as long as contact and amount of people involved were kept to a minimum. I declined, which, in retrospect, was a big mistake. I had this project due for work and I was already stressed about meeting the deadline. Plus, the thought of spending an entire evening pretending to like Max sounded like torture. I figured my BF could go, have a good time with his friend, and I could get some work done in peace. BF offered to stay with me, but I told him he didn't need to and I'd understand if he wanted to support Max even though I despised the guy. I literally said, "Go, have fun. One of us should." Again. This was a mistake in retrospect. If I'd gone with him, or if he'd stayed home, none of this would have happened. He promised he wouldn't drink much and would be home by midnight. I remember kissing him goodbye and thinking how handsome he looked, all dressed up in his nice button-down shirt. That was the last normal moment we had before everything went to shit. Around 11 p.m., I got a text saying he was too drunk to drive and would crash at Max's place. I was annoyed but figured it was better than him driving drunk. I sent back a quick "okay, love you" and went to bed. I didn't sleep well, I never do when he's not there. Our bed feels too big, too empty. The next morning BF came home crying. We are living together, have been for about 3 years now. He looked awful, still clearly hungover, eyes red and puffy, clothes rumpled like he'd slept in them. He could barely look at me. I knew something was wrong immediately. My BF isn't the crying type. In the entire time we've been together, I've seen him cry maybe 3 times, when his grandpa died, when we thought my cat might need to be put down, and during the last episode of The Walking Dead game where Lee dies. I guided him to the bathroom, ran a bath, and helped him undress. He was still crying, these silent tears that just kept coming. I bathed him like he was a child, gently washing his hair, wiping his face. He let me put him to bed after, curling up in a ball under the covers. I sat with him until he fell asleep, running my fingers through his hair, terrified of what could have happened. When he woke up a few hours later, he told me everything. Apparently, he got really drunk at the party. Like, way more than he normally would. He said Max kept pushing drinks on him, one more shot for the happy couple, until he could barely stand. Hannah was very flirty with him the whole night according to my BF. Touching his arm when she laughed at his jokes, sitting close to him on the couch, giving him these looks. He said he thought he was imagining it at first and tried to keep his distance without being obvious. At some point, he passed out on their couch. He remembers Max helping him lie down, bringing him a pillow and blanket. He thought he was just going to sleep it off there for the night. That's the last clear memory he has. The next thing BF says he remembers was when he woke up, Hannah was giving him a BJ while he was naked. He couldn't figure out where he was at first, not on the couch anymore, but in their guest bedroom. He was confused, still drunk, and didn't immediately react. Then he realized Max was in the room too, just watching from a chair in the corner. According to BF, they're into the whole hot wife thing, whatever that means. I had to Google it later and wish I hadn't. Apparently it's some kink where the guy gets off on watching his wife/girlfriend with other men. Max was encouraging Hannah, telling her what to do, filming parts of it on his phone. BF says he was too drunk to resist properly. He tried to say no, tried to push Hannah away, but he was still so out of it that he couldn't muster the strength. He said at some point he just gave up and let it happen because he didn't know what else to do. He was afraid they wouldn't let him leave if he kept fighting. The next thing BF says he remembers was waking up again, hours later, naked next to Hannah with a bunch of used condoms around them. Max was gone by then. BF said he felt sick, gathered his clothes, and rushed out without waking Hannah. He threw up in their front yard, called an Uber, and came straight home. I just sat there in shock as he told me all this. This man I've been with for almost 5 years, who I thought was the love of my life, just told me he'd been with another woman and cheated on me. My heart is breaking right now, guys, and I really don't know what to do. He's been begging me for a second chance, even showing me he blocked Max and Hannah on everything. He promised never to contact them again. He also swears to not drink when I'm not around anymore and that he'd keep his phone unlocked and I can look through it whenever I wanted, no questions asked. This all happened a few days ago and I've barely left the room. I've been calling in sick to work. My boss is probably getting annoyed, but I just can't function right now. I tried to log in yesterday to check emails and ended up staring at the screen for an hour without doing anything. I just can't focus on my stupid job when my relationship is falling apart. Guys, I don't know where to go from here. I'm crying just typing this out, but I don't have anyone to talk to about this. Usually, when problems this big come up in my life, he's the one I turn to for help. But I can't exactly ask him for advice on this, can I? I love him, but I don't know if I can trust him anymore. What should I do? Sorry for the long rant. I'm just lost right now. Update, sorry I haven't been replying to any of you, I just didn't think I was in the right headspace to actually hold a meaningful conversation. Rest assured I did read all of your replies. Even the really mean ones that called me all sorts of names for even considering staying with a cheater or for being naive or whatever. Those comments honestly just made me feel worse, but I get that people are just trying to protect me based on their own experiences. And to the people who sent me DMs asking for more details about what happened while he was assaulted, you're disgusting and I hope you step on Legos every day for the rest of your lives. So where do I begin? Well, I think some of you would be delighted to know that he left me for not being supportive. Sucks to be me, I guess. I guess you guys were right, I am a sucky girlfriend. He's now off to be with his brand new supportive GF who understands him so much better than I ever could. Nah, just kidding, but some of you would have wanted that to happen, right? I know some of you were saying I should just dump him and move on, but relationships are more complicated than that. We've been together for 5 years. You don't just throw that away without trying to fix things. So here's what really happened. After reading some of your comments, especially the ones questioning why Max and Hannah would do this and pointing out that my BF was clearly a victim here, I started to see things from a different perspective. Some of you pointed out that this sounded less like cheating and more like assault or even rape. I never really thought of it as anything other than cheating initially, and it didn't help that when he came home to me that morning he claimed to have cheated on me, and I guess my mind just started going to a dark place where logic goes out of the window. It's definitely not an excuse, but I really wasn't in the right mindset after he said he cheated. I was in shock, angry, hurt, confused, all these emotions hitting me at once. I couldn't think straight. It was like my brain just latched onto the word cheating and couldn't process anything else. I guess it was after the realization that this man would never willingly hurt me as when all the anger and pain of being cheated on was washed away. We've been together for years, and he's never even looked at another woman. Anytime we're out and some girl tries to flirt with him, which happens more than I'd like, he's a good-looking guy, he always makes it clear he's taken. He even shows them pictures of us together on his phone sometimes. It's actually kind of adorable. I couldn't really bring myself to talk to him at first. For like 5 days we were just existing in the same space, barely speaking. I'd be on my laptop in the bedroom while he'd be on the couch watching TV or playing video games. We'd pass each other in the hallway and it was like passing a stranger. We slept in separate rooms. Ate at different times. It was awful. One night, I couldn't sleep, again, and went to get some water. He was on the couch blankly staring at whatever was on TV. He looked empty. Not sad, not angry, just completely void of emotion. Like a shell of himself. It scared me more than his crying had. I sat beside him and told him I had no intentions of breaking up. Well, he came to life almost instantly, and before I knew it, his arms were wrapped around me. He was shaking and I could tell he was crying. I was too. It was like a dam breaking, all the emotions we'd been holding back just came pouring out. Remember when I said I felt my world was crumbling around me? Well, for the first time in what seemed like forever, I could feel it starting to fall back into place. I didn't realize how much a simple embrace can be so calming. Everything was starting to feel right again. Like we were facing this together instead of apart. Then we talked, for the first time since it happened. He apologized again for cheating, and when I told him I didn't think he cheated, he had a puzzled look on his face. I asked him if he gave consent and he said no. I tried to explain that what happened to him was assault, but I guess he still doesn't realize that he was actually taken advantage of. He said the first thing that came to mind after what happened was that he cheated and was so afraid of losing me. This man, after being raped, first thought of how much he betrayed me instead of how he was betrayed himself. I was floored. He said his first response had to be to win me back, which is why he's been going the extra mile the last few days taking care of me from a distance. When it was my turn to speak, I told him how sorry I was for not being supportive. I jumped to conclusions without actually thinking about it clearly, which was pretty out of character for me. I'm usually the logical one who analyzes everything, but I guess when it comes to matters of the heart, logic takes a backseat. We both apologized for not talking sooner, for letting this fester between us. We agreed we need to be better about communication going forward, especially when things get hard. We can't just shut down and hope the problem goes away. A few more exchanges after that and the conversation shifted to Max and Hannah. I told him that I never wanted him anywhere near Max or her again and he agreed. I've always thought he was a bad influence but I never thought he'd take it this far so I never stopped him from seeing his best friend. He showed me his phone which didn't have a lock anymore. He said he blocked both of them on everything but wanted to keep the open phone policy. He said it's so I can be sure he isn't back in touch with Max. I appreciate the gesture, but I told him I trust him. It's Max and Hannah I don't trust. I urged him to file a police report but he was against it. He said that even if he was raped, he couldn't bring himself to do it. I didn't really know the extent about it at first but his family and Max's family had a very long history of friendship. Their moms were college best friends and their dads worked together. Not only were the two of them close, even their families were close. I thought they were just friends growing up but it was more than that. They're practically family. Max's parents, even though they are divorced, are my BF's godparents, and vice versa. They spend holidays together, go on family vacations together. It's like this whole interconnected web that I never fully understood until now. I didn't know all this cause every time I visit his family, the topic was never brought up and I haven't really met any of Max's family except for his little sister who came by to play with BF's little brother when we visited his parents last Christmas. He said he didn't want to ruin decades of friendship between their families and would be content with just going NC with Max. I guess I understand his hesitation. Men already aren't taken seriously when it comes to stuff like this, and with all the family complications. It's just a mess. The police might not believe him. Max and Hannah could turn it around and say he initiated it. It would be his word against theirs, and with no evidence beyond those condoms, which are long gone, it's unlikely anything would come of it legally anyway. He's getting tested later today and I hope that bitch didn't give my man anything. I'd imagine Hannah would be on BC given how many dudes she apparently sleeps with. Though that's just speculation on my part, and maybe a bit mean. But honestly, I don't care if I'm being mean about the woman who assaulted my boyfriend. BF and I came to the conclusion that Max most likely set the whole thing up to break us apart so he can have his best friend back. They used to be partners in crime after all, when it came to parties and picking up women. I remember my BF telling me stories from their freshman year that would make anyone blush. Max has made comments before about how much better my BF was before me, how much fun they used to have together. I think he resented me for changing his friend, even though my BF changed on his own. Maybe Max thought if he could make my BF cheat, or make me think he cheated, we'd break up and he'd get his party buddy back. I've also noticed that a few people were bashing me for making him wait 1 year for sex. I'm sorry, I just have different views. I believe that sex is for people who love each other, so I wasn't willing to sleep with anyone I wasn't deeply in love with and didn't love me back. I don't judge people who sleep around. My BF has a high body count but I don't really hold it against him, but back then, I just wanted to be sure I wasn't just a girl he bangs or a conquest but someone who he actually loves and sees a future with. Considering his past, I was very skeptical for a while and I had my walls up the entire time, but he slowly tore them apart and I'm glad he did. That reluctant yes when he first asked me out was and still is one of the best decisions I've ever made. Max's plan had the opposite effect. It's rough now but I can see this experience making our relationship even stronger. I love him more than ever, believe it or not, and I'm sure he feels the same way. The last few days have taught us both how shitty our lives would be without the other. I guess it made us value each other more? Not that either of us took the other for granted. We deleted all social media for now. Just a cleanse, you know? Neither of us wants to risk seeing anything from Max or Hannah, or having mutual friends asking questions we're not ready to answer. We're focusing on each other right now, not the outside world. I know he didn't cheat. I know he won't break my heart. I know that he loves me. I know that I love him. It's hard right now, but knowing those facts makes me confident we can see this through. One Redditor pointed out that we were soulmates and I like to think that we are. I can't see myself being with anyone but him.